The weather hits me real bad. Like, I was expecting it to be cold, but maybe somehow, somewhere in my mind, I didn't expect that some places in the USA were colder than some other places. So where I moved to was cold. I didn't really do my research. I didn't really know what I was expecting, and I came in pregnant, and I had Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Sonia Nidi. In this channel, I'll be telling you guys more about my journey, how I have been able to cope with motherhood and nursing. I would want to share my experience to be able to enlighten and help someone out there who is probably wondering if they would make it or be able to get through it or achieve this American dream as an immigrant. So I would appreciate you to like, share, subscribe, and help us build a community over here of moms who are also trying to work and build a career for themselves. All right, with that being said, I'm going to jump into today's video for the night. But before then, I want to admire my locks a little. I'm still going to talk about why I got the locks someday. But let's dive into today's topic. So in today's topic, I would like to discuss or share some of my realities in the first year of staying in America. I'm going to start with number one, expecting that I'll be able to start immediately when I came into America. I mean, you should be able to give yourself time for your green card, work permit, social security, all of your documents to come in before you would able to start working. That's number one. For people that maybe don't have no other issue, they've come in, they want to work, things take time. Everything takes time. Probably gonna take 3 to 4 weeks. It might even take 5 weeks before you get your green card, get your social security that would enable you to start working. Give yourself some time, make some plans, save some money, because you might not start immediately. That's number one. Number two, the weather. The weather hits me real bad. Like, I was expecting it to be cold, but maybe somehow, somewhere in my mind, I didn't expect that some places in the USA were colder than some other places. So where I moved to was cold. I didn't really do my research. I didn't really know what I was expecting, and I came in pregnant, and I had my little baby, so I was very cold, stuffed nose, everything. So the weather was one of the things that, I'm still cold. It's not like I've gotten over it, but you can imagine then it was so terrible. So that was like one of the things that really hits me bad, one of the realities that I'll probably not forget like in a minute. So if you're coming, research about the states where you're coming to, know what their weather is like. If it's too harsh, like where I am, when it's hot, when it's cold, like very cold. So have your research so that you know what you're coming into, you have your expectations, and then be sure to know that expectations are not realities. Number three, one of my reality as an immigrant nurse in America was my accent. I didn't expect that I was going to say something 5 times before someone would understand me, or I was going to repeat myself like over and over again, or just by talking someone's going to say, are you from Jamaica? Are you African? I did not expect that. And when I started working, and then I'm a nurse, I have to interact with my colleagues, I have to interact with my patients, and then sometimes something you will probably do in 5 minutes, you do it for more because you keep repeating yourself over and over again. It was a bit of a struggle for me, but then there was nothing I could do about it. I'm Nigerian, I have an accent, I have it. But then over time, people were able to understand, and we got over that phase. Do I still encounter that? Yes. There are some people that will meet me even over the phone. They're like, I'm sorry, I don't get you. I've gotten used to it, and we move. You don't get me, I repeat myself until you hear me. Some people too, depending on what tribe or where you're coming from, might have like some deep accent. Like I've met some Ghanaians, I like the way they talk too, but they do have like an accent. I've met some Indian people, so I mean, it is who we are and we can't change it, so we're all gonna adjust. Another thing that hits me differently was thinking you would work with one license in every state across the USA. No. Back home in Nigeria, because I'm Nigerian trained nurse, once you write your exam and you become a registered nurse, you can work in any state. You don't have to do no, certification, evaluation, endorsements, nothing. You can work in any state. Meaning we have 36 states in Nigeria. I can move from Lagos to Abuja and still be a nurse. I don't have to do nothing. All I just have to do is to look for a job. But coming to the USA, if you are endorsed or you took your board with Texas Board of Nursing and you are going to work in New York, you have to endorse your license to New York Board of Nursing. The only difference is that you would not write the NCLEX again. For me, I wrote my exam through the Texas Board of Nursing, and I didn't know this whole thing. So when I was looking for a job, doing the agency states, getting a job, going through, I picked a job with New York State. I didn't know all of this other thing. So when it was now time, I realized that I had to endorse my license to New York. It was like more like starting afresh. I had to go through CGFNS again, go through my school, bring transcripts, to evaluate and all of that. It took a lot of money doing that as well, and it was time consuming. It took me 6 months or more to endorse my license from Texas to New York, and of course I was jobless. So you have to do your research when you're going for after a job, especially if you cannot wait. You don't have the support to be able to wait. Pick a job with the Board of Nursing. Except the Board of Nursing you use is like a compact state. You don't need to endorse when going to one of the compact states in the USA. That's like another topic for another day. Texas is a compact state. But in my case, I'm an immigrant, and if you are an immigrant, you don't have social security number when you apply with them, they are going to give you a single state license. They won't give you your license as a compact state until you have a residential address in that state. Maybe when you're renewing it, it will now become a compact state. That way you don't have to endorse to work in any of the compact states. It becomes like a multi-state license. Even at that, from you to work from Texas to New York, California, some states you still have to get their license. So you have to do the endorsement. So I kind of assumed it was the same thing with my home country, like Nigeria, where you don't have to do that. But in the USA, you cannot move from one state to another with the same license. You have to endorse your license to theirs, and every state have their requirements. So you just have to look it up and find out, so you don't experience the kind of delay that I did. Number 4, one of the reality that I'm like, wow, is this credit score stuff. You need credit score to get a lot of things. You need a good credit score to get a car. You need a good credit score to even rent an apartment. Coming from Nigeria, it was a cash economy. You need to have your money to buy whatever you want to buy. But here in the United States, you need a good credit score. So you have to borrow this money from people, like in a credit card. They have credit card companies. You borrow this money from them. They give you like a credit card limit. Use it for something and pay over time. You are trying to show them that you can borrow and pay this money in a credible and timely manner. That's way you are building your credit score. So if you come in like me that said, I don't want to borrow, I want to spend the money when I have it. Or you're going to realize after some months that you need a credit score to get some certain things, and that will not be good, and it will also increase your interest if you don't have a good credit score in getting some things. So if you come in, you want to look for a secured credit card and start using it to buy things, especially because you're also going to be acquiring property. You're going to use it to acquire those property and pay them over time. But I used to say, I'm not going to buy something that I cannot afford, or I know it's out of my budget with credit card just because I have credit card. No, try not to overspend on your credit card, but then you also need to use the credit card to be able to get good credit score and be able to qualify for some certain things that requires you to have credit score so that you can qualify for it. Not free stuff. For you to buy a car, you need a credit score. It's not free, but you need that. So those are one of the things that one of the reality that we had to face that we do not do back home. Another thing is, how when we were coming, they told us there's high demand for nurses, high demand for nurses. So you would think that, because they are looking for nurses and now they've come to Nigeria to employ you, when you're coming in, you're going to be like, I am the queen, I'm walking in. Don't mind my drama, but how you would think that, they have high demand for nurses, so anywhere you walk in, they're going to take you. But you're still going to follow due process, like every due process. Yes, there's high demand, but then also there are like processes you have to follow that if you don't have, just because they need a nurse doesn't mean they are going to take you. So there are lots of processes, rigorous processes for certification. Just like I mentioned, if you have to endorse your license, you have to do some courses, you have to borrow this money from somebody, from people, like in a credit card. They have credit card companies. You borrow this money from them, they give you like a credit card you need. You use it for something and pay over time. You are trying to show them that you are credible. Like you can borrow and pay this money in a credible and timely manner. That way you are building your credit score. So if you come in like me that said, I don't want to borrow, I want to spend the money when I have it. Or you're going to realize after some months that you need a credit score to get some certain things, and that will not be good, and it will also increase your interest if you don't have a good credit score in getting some things. So if you come in, you want to look for a secured credit card and start using it to buy things, especially because you're also going to be acquiring property. You're going to use it to acquire those property and pay them over time. But I used to say, I'm not going to buy something that I cannot afford, or I know it's out of my budget with credit card just because I have credit card. No, try not to overspend on your credit card, but then you also need to use the credit card to be able to get good credit score and be able to qualify for some certain things that requires you to have credit score so that you can qualify for it. Not free stuff. For you to buy a car, you need a credit score. It's not free, but you need that. So those are one of the reality that we had to face that we do not do back home. Another thing is, how you would think that, they have high demand for nurses, so anywhere you walk in, they're going to take you. But you're still going to follow due process, like every due process. Yes, there's high demand, but then also there are like processes you have to follow that if you don't have, just because they need a nurse doesn't mean they are going to take you. So there are lots of processes, rigorous processes for certification. Just like I mentioned, if you have to endorse your license, you have to do some courses, you have to follow all the requirements to take it. Yeah, they don't have nurses, but they are now about to lower their standard, like how they have auxiliary nurses back home. They are now about to lower their standard to just take you in. You have to follow due process and everything before you can get the license. The next point is good pay. How we when you read your contract back home and you see those dollar per hour, you're like, wow, I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But so the reality that happened to me was, after imagining all those big life, the big girl life I was going to live, I came in and I realized, and maybe because back home in Nigeria, I was a federal government worker, meaning I was working for the federal government, the federal hospital, right? So, and our pay is almost the same thing across the states. Like when I had to move from Port Harcourt, River State to Enugu, I was earning the same thing with just a little bit. I mean, there was no difference. You earn the same thing across the states. So I thought it was the same thing. But here in the USA, I realized that different states pays different, pays different. If you're staying in a state with high cost of living, your income is going to be high, because at the end of the day you're going to spend 30% of it on tax, on living expenses, and all of that. Then if you're staying in a state with low cost of living, your pay is going to be low, because I mean, they pay you according to your living, according to the living expenses of that state. So that was another thing I realized that was different. But because I stay in one of the states that is considered to be high, and you just have to like plan budgets. And another thing that we do as immigrants is that we start converting those money to the currency back home, and you think you're going to live in so much money. Don't make that mistake. Make your research, think about that place you're going to get that job, and know what their living expenses is like, what their rent is like. Mind you, we pay rents, they pay rents here monthly, unlike back home where they pay rents yearly. So you have to factor all of this into your research and plan, into the amounts they are offering you, so that you will not go and pick high states and with low payments, or you're making so much unrealistic plan because you had $40 per hour, $80 per hour, $100 per hour. You're making unrealistic plan, thinking you're going to live on, you're no longer living on naira, you're living in dollars, spending in dollars. So all of these things, are part of the realization, like the things I had to come to terms with. And you can't compare with what you're earning, what somebody else is earning, because you don't stay in the same states with them. And even if you're in the same states, you might be in the rural area and they might be in the, do you understand? Like I stay in New York, but someone in New York City probably earns more than I do and spend more than I do. So it's different. So keep that in mind when you're making research and thinking and analyzing and planning, so you don't fall victim of too much expectation that will crash. Another thing also that I encountered or experienced or realized is the cultural diversity. There are so many cultural diversity, like so many things that are different, so many things that a nurse could do here that we're not even allowed to do as nurses. The tattoos, the piercings, the hair, back home they won't let your hair touch your clothes. You have to pack it up, because they don't want you to contaminate. They won't let you fix your nails. They won't let you, have visible. You can't even have tattoo. Talk more of visible tattoo. Oh, you can't have piercings. So coming to the United States, so many cultural things that are like acceptable. Let me even try to relate it to just nursing. Like in the nursing society, in the nursing world, there are things that are accepted. Nobody really cares about those things. All they want you to be is to be effective, productive, and be efficient. Nobody thinks about how many piercings you have, unlike how it was back home. So it gave me a new sense of living. Like you have to relearn, unlearn and relearn, that kind of a thing. People are different, and we can only be a product of where we are, right? So I had to, unlearn and learn and accommodate people and readjust. So if you're listening to this video, you probably have a lot of unlearning and relearning to do, and accepting people with their own cultural values. And that another point I have is professional growth. Back home, when you get a degree, somehow you probably find yourself in like 6 people wanting to go back to school, to go for their masters, to go for their PhD, to go for one course or the other. You're like pushed to keep moving. But when I came here, it's more like you have to be the one to decide to do that, or maybe you find yourself in a job that will require that. But yeah, people just mostly finish their high school, get into working, maybe somewhere along the line of working, they now decide, oh, I want more, they go back to school. And another thing, there are so many professional courses, so many professional routes to take, but it's very expensive. Like when I applied for my master's, what I will use to do my master's in a private university here will fund me back home for master's, PhD, and so many certification. Going to school here is expensive, and then people end up with student loan that they keep paying over and over, and all of this constitutes the bills that you will have to pay. So it kind of hinder people from seeking that professional growth. I mean, like I said, these are just my own opinion. I stand to be corrected, or I mean, you can enlighten me in the comment section if you think you do not agree with, you know, what I say or what I am doing or what I said, you know, my own opinion. I mean, so professional growth, there are so many routes to take, but it's just expensive. Another thing that baffled me was insurance. You are forced to get insurance. When you buy a car, they want you to buy insurance. When you rent a house, they want you to get insurance. Everything insurance, health insurance, this insurance. Like, I don't think I heard that word all through my stay in Nigeria when I had to rent and live in an apartment and all of that. I did not have nothing about insurance. But I also do think it's good, especially the health insurance part, in the sense that, you know, you pay your insurance over time, and then eventually when you're sick, you don't have to be thinking about money. You know, like, we'll probably do deposit this before I take care of you. You don't have to think about any of that. You just go to the hospital, receive the treatment that you want to feel better, and then go home, and then maybe you start receiving the bills. If your insurance doesn't cover, you know, it all, you start receiving your ones you're going to pay. It kind of gives you peace of mind and allow yourself to, you know, rejuvenate when you're sick and not be thinking about money or over analyzing things. So with that being said, these are like some of the areas that, you know, took me unaware, and I had to realize is different from what I have, you know, known in the past before. And I mean, if you have any points or anything you would like to enlighten me on, also, I would like to see them in the comment section. Or if there's any, you know, if you kind of agree or relate to this as an immigrant, nurse, student, whatever, you know, I would also like to hear your thoughts and opinion. Like, and then please do not forget to love, share, and subscribe so that it will motivate me to do more and share more with you guys. Like I said, thank you, and see you in my next video.